Let's discuss the big picture and some key individual stocks with Anil Singhvi, Chairman with Ican Investment Advisors, who joins us live from our Mumbai studio. Mr. Singhvi, morning. Thank you for joining us. What do you want to start with, sir? Rupee or Infosys?
Both.
Okay.
They're interrelated.
Yeah, but Mr. Murthy's come back. Step in the right direction or too late, too little?
I find it bizarre. And let me
You're the first one who's saying this.
Yeah. Let me speak my mind. I don't suffer anyone's opinion, so let me speak my mind. After having said this, that he has a tremendous team, a leadership and a dream team, you retire. You retire at the age of 60, then you take a complete retirement at the age of 65, and at 67 you come back. That shows how weak the organization is. So I'm not onto this that it's a welcome move by Narayan Murthy. He owns 5% shares now, come on, give me a break. So he is the second largest shareholder in the company. He's seeing that how share was hammered post the fourth quarter results. So somewhere this thing was there in him that I have to go and safeguard this whole situation. And secondly, Nakul, just be with me on this, that he says he has to come back with his team. So he says my son will come back. Now we've seen in Bollywood, we've seen in cricket, and now we've seen in corporate world. Now don't give the name that I need to have, very strong team with me. You want to bring your son into the organization? Be honest. And this is what is expected of Narayan Murthy. Not that you have to really beat around the bush that he will support me. Every son should be supporting father. Nothing wrong in it.
But Anil, son or not, wouldn't it not instill some confidence in shareholders that perhaps the dream days of Infi are going to come back with NRN now returning?
No, I don't know, because the point is that Shivulal continues to be there, Gopal Krishna continues to be there, the roles are more or less same, and now you will have three executives, executive chairman, executive vice chairman and managing director. So I really do not know who is really going to call shots. I hope it is Narayan Murthy who is going to call shots if that really works well for the company. He's the second largest shareholder. He has a legitimacy on this, that he has seen his own wealth eroding. So it's a very much decision taken not for the larger shareholders' interest, but if the interest is aligned, nothing like it, but largely to protect his own wealth.
But the man at the top really matters. We've seen that with TCS. The minute Chandra took over from Mr. Ramadurai, TCS really went into a different orbit. The best global example here is Steve Jobs. Minus Steve Jobs, Apple, and with him, minus Steve Jobs, Apple, and with Steve Jobs, Apple was very different.
I think there are enough examples for and against it, so I don't want to debate on that. The point remains that is Infi the same Infi what it was 5 years back? My answer is no. Can Narayan Murthy really bring it back and on the road? I think it's early to be judgmental on that.
Do you track Sun Pharma with a magnifying glass? Because I'm surprised what they're planning to acquire.
No, I don't. So I would not be best bet on that.
Let's talk about rupee. Are you surprised with the free fall in rupee?
Not at all. Because you will remember when I was here last almost about 2.5 months back, people were, and I think the most analysts on rupee and most bankers were coming and talking about 52.5 and 53. And I was the only one who stuck my neck out and said that 56, 57. So it's not that I'm boasting myself, but I think it was written on the wall. But somewhere people thought that there were some statements made by the government which will make rupee strengthen, but I don't think the currencies globally can really just on the statements can work.
Okay, so we're flashing Anil Singhvi believes that Mr. Murthy's return is bizarre. You want to stand by that, right?
Completely. I have explained also why I'm saying this. I'm not against it, but it's bizarre because once you take a retirement, then why blame politicians if they're at 75, 80, they promote their sons, all that. I think it's in public life. Then we must take it that I think the whole society is right now infested with this kind of problem.
So, Mr. Singhvi, let's connect rupee, macro and the global picture. Are you bearish? Are you bullish?
Well, I think I'm realistic, so I would just put down two things very clearly. As far as rupee is concerned, the direction still continues to be, it will be 57, 57.5, because I don't think the CAD problem is behind us. So my take is that rupee will still have weakness, and it has to do with both our own fundamentals and dollar. I think dollar will keep on showing the strength as compared to yen and euro. So I think we are caught on both sides. We have poor fundamentals and US seem to be doing well. So I think rupee will continue to show the signs of weaknesses. Global fundamentals I think seem to be more or less at the same level. I don't think much has changed. Of course, euphoria has been building up on account of continuous easy liquidity conditions globally. But I don't think it's really going to change in a hurry and it's going to remain same. We saw Japan, I mean, how the currency really played well for them in terms of showing the weakness in the yen, and which perhaps people thought that the Japanese economy will do well because I think the weak yen will help them in terms of exports. But again, when things started changing up in last week, 10 days time, we saw the balancing coming back, and Japan still has a lot of problems. So just the currency will not help them a lot. Coming back to rupee, I think if we go to 57.5, 58, if that be the case, I think it will help revive a little bit of our manufacturing side. And that brings me to the fundamentals as far as the economy is concerned. I think the manufacturing side has taken a big toll in last 1 year. And if rupee depreciates, I think it's going to help, though it may be still counterproductive from inflation point of view, but definitely it's going to help our ailing manufacturing side of our economy. But because the point which I think most people have missed is that people are saying about green shoots and we are going to have 6% growth and all that. I'm not so optimistic on that because December quarter and March quarter both have gone more or less at the same level, 4.7, 4.8%. There's not much of a difference in that. And though technically we have seen many times that January-March quarter is a far superior quarter than October-December quarter. So the take was that if it was 4.5 then 4.8 looked good. But if the number was corrected to 4.7, then 4.8 is more or less a flattish kind of a growth. So I wonder where this growth of 6% will come. So I would not buy many statements made by our policymakers because I think they all have gone wrong in the last 3 years. So I will take it as a bucket full of salt.
Anil, you've painted a very bearish picture, both when it comes to the currency as well as the economy. In such a case, what happens to the market?
No, I think what you have seen, when you see a 100, 200 point rise on Sensex and then you see a 500 point correction coming in, and this is where the market is. Because I think the market is becoming rudderless. They do not really go which direction to go. Because the hope is there, I mean the heart says that it should be doing well, it should be all right, but the mind says no. Look at the screens, and the screens are not showing any kind of growth numbers on that. So that's where the markets are caught. So my take is that I think it's going to remain between 5,800 to 6,000. I don't think we're going to see much of volatility coming in. And barring about 25, 30 stocks, I would, I always look at that. I think we are at perhaps the index of less than Nifty or less than 5,000. Yeah. So just about 20 stocks are holding up.
Maybe so what do you think in such a case RBI is going to do in its June policy, and if indeed they cut rates, do you think that can somewhat revive market sentiment?
I'm not very not very hopeful of that RBI will reduce the rates, because I think we are taking WPI, which to my mind is a completely junk situation. I don't think we should be ever using WPI. This country doesn't work on WPI. Who uses WPI for anything on that? So taking WPI when it suits them is I don't think is the right way of looking at it. Look at CPI. So long as CPI is at 9.5%, I don't think we still have gone rid of inflation. So RBI's hands will be tight. And I think Dr. Subbarao had made his point clear about 10 days back. So long as he's there till September, I don't have much of hope.
Anil, where is your outlook on for the economy? Slightly bleak. What is your outlook on commodities?
I think when you look at China and growth is slowing down in China, and we are going to struggle at around 5.5. I don't think we can go past 5.5. So I think commodities will remain subdued. I don't think the run which we saw, easy liquidity, China growing, India growing, and that's where the commodity cycle had really the heydays of almost 4 or 5 years. But I don't think today we are going to see a similar kind of a thing coming in. So I'm not very bullish on commodities. I think they're going to remain what the level they were. I think we got used to it between 2008 and 2011. We got very used to these kind of euphoric times. But I think those were abnormal times.
Right. So if you're bearish on commodities, gold prices have corrected. If economy indeed makes a comeback, do you think we could be staring at a strong margin expansion? Do you think we could be staring at a situation where manufacturing sector could make a comeback?
I think if rupee, as I mentioned, if the rupee depreciates and it gets to at around 57.5, 58, I think we'll see a huge revival of our manufacturing base, because we lost a lot of ground to a lot of other economies. So we have to come back to the exports. Despite the fact the Eurozone seem to be in trouble, but I think they still haven't stopped consuming. So consumer story is still there in European markets as well, and that's where we have to really focus our attention on America and European markets. So I think if rupee depreciates it is going to help our manufacturing side. And for our economy to revive, in fact, that's what the point which is engaging my mind, that if we have to go to 5.5% and 6%, which is going to be the area which is really going to recover, is going to be agriculture. We don't seem to have done much about it. Is it going to be services? I don't think we are going to really see a huge jump in coming in services. So it's basically the industry and manufacturing side, the mining, which we have really spoiled the whole game on that. I think these two areas have to come back. And for that, depreciation in rupee will definitely help.
What happens to cement then, Anil, since your expertise is there? It's been a bad Q4, which traditionally is supposed to be good. What about the next few months?
I think despite all ills in our economy and markets and all, that is one industry which most people were suspecting until about a year back seem to have done reasonably well. Though, of course, the fourth quarter should have been much better because it's a strong quarter historically. But I think the demand did not pick up the way it should have picked up, and there were some hiccups in certain markets, and that's how you saw that the results were not as good as they should have been looking at the first 3 quarters. But going forward, my take is that the supply side pressure of cement seemed to have really come off. Demand will pick up. If the economy has to pick up, the construction has to pick up on that. And I don't think 13-14 is going to be as damn squib as it was the fourth quarter. So fourth quarter may not be a pointer towards what 13-14 is going to be.
If you're bullish on cement, you're bearish on economy. Somehow these two things always connect. There's a very direct correlation in cement and the economic growth.
I agree with you, because my point is that what we have achieved last year is 5%. So if we go really past 5.5%, this is what my best bet is. Obviously, the construction will be one industry which is going to do well. If construction does well, cement will do well. Infrastructure, I don't think will happen in a hurry. So I think it's going to take at least about 18-24 months before infrastructure happens. But if you look at real estate, and I think all said and done, people have talked about that retail participation in India in financial assets is very poor. I think rightly so. I think they are the most intelligent guys. They have really invested money in real estate. If you look at the real estate across the country, I don't think it is showing sign of weaknesses anywhere, despite the fact that the economy is really not doing well. So if there is a dichotomy between real estate prices and economy, I think the same dichotomy will be there in cement and overall economic growth.
Fair point. That's a wonderful comparison. So since your near-term view is that rupee will remain under pressure and manufacturing sector will make a comeback. So can I try and read in between lines? Are you buying some stocks from the manufacturing sector?
Not yet, but I think gradually one has to look at traditional exporters like textile or textile machinery, and I think they will be the first one to get off the ground. So those will be beneficiary. And second thing is IT companies. I think their expansion of margin, though despite the fact that they have pressure on their cost side, but I think if rupee weakens and it remains at a level of around 57.5 or 58, I think we're going to see IT companies, and more so the mid-cap IT companies, they're going to do much better.
You gave me a name, Mindtree, last time, which has done exceptionally well. Yes. Do you still like it?
Yes.
Do you have a price target for Mindtree?
I think Mindtree can cross even $1,000.
What makes you so bullish about Mindtree? Because I looked at the Q4 numbers, they were pretty okay.
Yeah, but if you look at how other companies are doing, it's a relative story on that. And I think Mindtree going forward, I think they have put their acts together. When most other companies suffered, I think Mindtree, look at how it is almost doubled in last 1.5 years. So I think the same story of keeping your scale very clearly. This is where I think the loss of the biggies like Infosys and the kind would really definitely fall into the laps of the smaller and mid-cap IT companies on that. And they have to be nimble-footed, they have to keep their costs in track, and they can do really much better job than most other large company like Infosys have done.
What about banks? Is there anything that you like out of that space?
I think banking is a mixed bag. Some banks really have a pressure because of NPAs, and some banks who haven't made blunders are really reaping the benefits. So on large banks, as Nikunj would always ask me to stick my neck out and say, and I'm repeating that almost like a parrot, that yes, Axis Bank continues to be a good take. I like another small bank called Federal Bank, and I think the Federal Bank story is yet to really be discovered, how the bank has really got out of all other issues and now to very large extent independently run, and they will show going forward very good results.
So you always give me names. Last time it was Mindtree, before that it was Dalmia Cement. Will it be Federal Bank this time?
It's difficult. You're putting almost a gun on my head. But I think the basket of more or less the names which I talked about are the one. But Federal Bank, yes, because it's trading in every parameter when you look at it.
They have a large exposure to gold. Does that worry you?
No.
Why is that? 20% of the book is in gold. Gold is contracting. They will end up losing money there.
That's okay. I mean, I'm not worried about a correction which has come in gold. In fact, I'm a buyer of the gold at this price, which is a hell of a price, because whenever unwinding of this whole excess liquidity situation is there's one asset class which is really going to hold you in good state is gold.
Okay, on that note, Anil, we will let you go and really appreciate you joining in on the show and chatting with us.